Hi, I'm Uli, and today I'm going to share with you a couple of tips on how to stress less. If you don't know me, my name is Uli. I'm a year 12 student studying in the UK, hoping to apply to medicine, and I get stressed out quite a lot, so I have over the years developed a couple of techniques that help me stay less stressed and stay sane in a way, so I'm going to share a couple of these with you guys. So before we start, I just want to share just a small disclaimer. I'm not a mental health professional in any way, so I'm just sharing with you a couple of tips that work for me, and if you are looking for new tips, then you should definitely try these out, and if they don't work, then I'm really sorry, but if they do, then yay. The first tip and the first thing that I use when I'm stressed is writing a diary. And normally I use the diary in conjunction with other ways to help with my stress, but it's the one that works the best. And the reason is because a diary is something that you can just talk to. You don't have to worry about what you're gonna say, what the other person is gonna think. You don't have to put any filter on what you say. You can just say whatever you want. If you have a friend that you can do that with, it is extremely rare and you're extremely lucky, but even with your closest friends, even your parents, there's a filter in some way. And with a diary, you can be yourself 110%, which helps a lot. And the main reason why it helps for me is because I'm a really emotional person. That stresses me out quite a lot because normally it's the emotions that, do the worst, the most damage for me. The diary just helps detangle and separate the emotional and the rational aspect of it. So if there's a problem, there's always an emotional attachment to that. And the way I try and solve that problem is to get rid of the emotions that, surround it and try to think rationally about what I can do. And if I can't do anything, then why am I even worrying about it? A really good example would be coming back to school. Actually, I'm coming back tomorrow from when I'm filming this video. And I was ready to not come back until after Easter because I assumed that the school would be okay with that. So we emailed and I was like, oh,
I'm really worried about COVID. I've adapted quite well to online school. Could I please stay at home for the last 3 weeks?
And they were just like,
well, actually, no, you can't.
And then I was like,
wow.
I was so ready to stay at home. I was so surprised. And almost none of my friends are going to be at school, almost. So I was just really not happy about it at all. But then I wrote a really long diary entry that day. And I realized that the reason why I'm actually so sad is not because I don't really have friends there or because, school just suddenly sucks, because I genuinely quite like school. But I realized it's because during lockdown, I've grown really attached to my parents and my family again. So I just don't want to leave my parents. And once I realized that that is the emotion that's holding me back, it's the fear that I'm going to miss them so much, like I did in year 8, I realized that actually it's okay because first of all, we all live in the UK, so I can always just come back during the weekend, and that's what I'm doing the first weekend back. And that kind of solves the problem, and I can still call her. And I also realized it's because I'm really angry at the teachers who didn't let me stay at home because it doesn't make logical sense to me. And I'm not going to go into too much detail into that because that's not what the video is about, but I'm just trying to show you that I separate the rational idea of that, school is actually quite good for me, and I can't really do much about it, so why am I still upset? And the emotional side of I'm gonna miss my parents a lot, and that's why it's so hard. And as a bonus, it's actually so fun reading back on what you thought and said, because I'm a type of person that worries a lot about the little things that don't really matter in life as much. And then it just reminds me that I was so worried about this a month ago, and now I literally can't even remember that was a problem. Here's an example of one of the small things that I was really worried about, but I already forgot that that was a thing. This is a part of my diary entry that day, and I'm saying I'm kind of stressed a little bit, but not really. I have a test tomorrow and on Wednesday, and I finished the notes, so I'm kind of ready for the test. But then we also have to be quality assessed for science outreach tomorrow, and I don't even know why I'm worried about it. I've presented so many times already, I should be a pro. And then I still have to write that personal statement paragraph for Abby. It just seems like there's a lot to do, but also not. In English, you don't have that. I don't think you have that. Idiom, I think is the correct word. But in Russian, we say that you shouldn't blow an elephant out of a mouse. But it basically means making a really small thing a massive problem and being super dramatic about it. So that's what I tend to do, and reading back reminds me to not do that. The next tip is communication, and quite a lot of my stresses come from not communicating with my friends or my family properly. And sometimes it helps to just talk it out. Surprisingly, we're humans, and I think the reason why we were able to build such an amazing society is because we talk to other people. It's really hard to do something by yourself, and you have to ask for help and talk, and if you do, then it makes your life so much easier. A good example would be my mom. A couple of years ago, she used to always make these remarks of do
you want to just eat salad for supper? Do you want to maybe go for a run with me?
And she always used to do this, and I always misinterpreted it as,
oh, she thinks I'm fat, she thinks I need to lose weight, she thinks that my body sucks and that I really need to become healthier.
And then I told her, and I used to get really sad about it, and I told her, I'm just like,
that's not really a nice thing to say, and I'm already not super confident in my body, so why? Like, this is not helping.
And she was like,
oh, actually, I'm so sorry this came across this way. I didn't mean it that way at all. I was just trying to look out for your health because I know that the health that you have right now is going to translate onto how you feel and what you look like when you're 40 and 50.
and she was like,
I'm sorry that it came across that way. I'm not going to say that again.
and you know, we solved it and now I'm not worried about it anymore. She doesn't say anything like this, which is great. So just try and talk. And then the final tip that sounds so trivial, but it's exercise. And for me, that's definitely running and cycling, like for sure. Things like lifting weights or squats, that doesn't really work for me because it doesn't get my heart rate up as much as running does. I turn on this like super cool music and sometimes it's like Disney, you know, vibe, but then most of the time it's like 80s and 70s, 80s and 90s, and it's like I don't listen to metal music but like rock, yes, and I run to it and it's amazing. And after running you come back and you feel so much better. It's like you release all the negative energy from your body and it really worked, like honestly. And then the final tip, wait, did I say that the fourth tip was the final tip? Never mind. Basically the final tip number 5, try to not set expectations for yourself. And that's something that I'm quite guilty of. I tend to overthink and imagine things and just like,
this is how it's gonna be. I'm so excited.
When something doesn't happen, it feels worse because of all of the expectations that have built up. So on a final word, just a couple of things that, you know, just don't really fit into like the tips category. You know, this is like a extra information. If you're worried about a person, talk to them and tell them, and that just like, it proves me wrong every single time. You know, when you think of something and you imagine the worst scenario possible, most of the time it doesn't even end up being that bad. So just try and speak to other people when you're stressed or worried. Something that I do quite a lot is think about it rationally. Like, what's the worst possible thing that can happen? What are the chances of that thing happening? And most of the time the worst thing that can happen isn't even that bad, and the chances of that happening are even lower. So it just helps me not stress about it. And you know, like what keeps me going, like my main mantras in life is actually something called the horseman story. My friend told me about it. It's basically the idea that whatever happens was supposed to happen, and that's a good thing that it happened. You know, whatever it is, you know, it is. Like, I believe that there's a path that's set out for us and we can like lean one or the other way from that path, but eventually we will just stay on it. And finally, I'm gonna end this video with a quote for you to think about. It is literally hanging right in front of me right now. So it says, worrying doesn't take away tomorrow's troubles, it takes away today's peace. And that's so deep. It's a physiological response that we have evolved to have, and we now need to battle it ourselves. It is okay. It's something that everyone experiences in one form or another. Find ways to deal with it that work for you. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you found at least one tip out of the ones that I use a little bit useful. You can follow me on my Instagram, even though I don't really post anything on there. And I hope you have an amazing, fantastic rest of your day. It is so sunny outside right now, so I'm gonna go and enjoy some sun. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.